Commander Sarah Chen stood at the window of Orbital Defense Station Alpha, watching the sunset paint the Earth's atmosphere in brilliant oranges and purples. 20 years of keeping humanity's greatest secret had left lines around her eyes, but her posture remained military straight as she studied the holographic displays floating in the smart glass before her. Director Chen, Lieutenant Rivera's voice carried across the command center. "We're picking up something unusual in the Kuiper Belt." Chen turned from the window, her reflection dissolving as the smart glass shifted to full transparency. The young lieutenant's dark fingers danced across his quantum interface, bringing up a three-dimensional representation of the solar system's outer reaches. "Show me," Chen ordered, crossing the room in quick strides. The hologram zoomed in on a cluster of objects moving in perfect formation. They weren't trying to hide, either supremely confident or unaware that humanity's quantum sensors could detect them at such distance. Chen's augmented vision implant automatically calculated their trajectory. "They're decelerating," Rivera reported. "Current velocity suggests they'll reach Saturn's orbit in approximately 72 hours. Chen's lips pressed into a thin line. After 2 decades of watching and waiting, it was finally happening. First contact, but not the kind humanity had hoped for. "Analysis of their drive signatures," she asked, though she already suspected the answer. "Antimatter cascade drives, Director. Highly efficient, but..." Rivera trailed off. "But primitive compared to our quantum-full technology," Chen finished. She allowed herself a small smile. Like most of Earth's advanced technology, their true propulsion capabilities remained hidden behind a carefully maintained facade of chemical rockets and basic ion drives. The command center hummed with quiet activity as more stations began tracking the incoming fleet. 300 ships at least, ranging from frigates to massive dreadnoughts. Their energy signatures blazed like bonfires to Earth's quantum sensors, but to conventional scanners, they would be nearly invisible until they passed Jupiter. Chen opened a secure channel to the Defense Council. "This is Director Chen. Implementation of Protocol Omega is now recommended. Authentication code, Victor 97 Delta 0. The response was immediate. "Authentication accepted. Council convening now. Maintain surveillance but take no overt action." She turned to her crew, pride swelling in her chest. These men and women represented humanity's best, chosen not just for their skills, but for their ability to keep the greatest secret in human history. Earth's apparent technological level was centuries behind their actual capabilities, a deception maintained through careful planning and quantum-based stealth systems. Lieutenant Rivera began full spectrum analysis of their weapons systems and defensive capabilities. "Dr. Evans, I want detailed scans of their communication protocols. If they're like the others we've detected over the years, they'll be using standard tachyon burst transmissions." "Already on it," Dr. Evans replied, her prosthetic arms interfacing directly with her workstation. "Their encryption is interesting, advanced by conventional standards, but nothing our quantum computers can't crack in real time." Chen nodded, turning back to the main display. The alien fleet's formation spoke of military precision and absolute confidence. They clearly expected to find a primitive civilization, barely able to reach its own moon. Instead, they were flying straight into the kill zone of the most advanced defensive network ever created. The quantum grid spanning Earth's solar system remained invisible. Its platform's phase shifted just slightly out of normal spacetime. Conventional sensors passed right through them, detecting nothing but empty space. Even light itself bent around their true positions, guided by carefully manipulated quantum fields. "Director," Rivera called out, "they're broadcasting." The message burst across space, aimed directly at Earth. Chen allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. They were following the exact pattern predicted by the Defense Council's Synapsychology Division. The translation matrix decoded their words in real time. "Attention, primitive world. Your system has been claimed by the Hexarchate. Prepare for integration into our empire. Resistance will result in immediate pacification. You have one local day to respond. How kind of them to give us warning, Chen murmured. She opened a channel to all stations. This is not a drill. Implementation of Protocol Omega is now in effect. Maintain emissions control and continue surface camouflage operations. Let's show our visitors exactly what they expect to see. Across Earth, hidden quantum technology continued its work, projecting the image of a world just beginning to reach for the stars. Primitive satellites tracked the alien fleet with radar and optical telescopes, broadcasting their findings on easily intercepted radio frequencies. Surface industries continued producing chemical rockets and basic computers, all part of the carefully crafted illusion. The truth lay deeper, beneath the oceans, inside hollow mountains, and in secret orbital facilities. Humanity's real technology waited. Quantum computers that could reshape reality itself. Weapons that didn't so much destroy as simply edit their targets out of existence. Defenses that made conventional shields look like paper barriers. Chen watched the alien fleet's approach on her quantum displays, remembering the day 20 years ago when humanity made their choice. When the first alien probe arrived, they could have announced themselves, showed their true capabilities. Instead, they chose to watch and wait, maintaining their deception until they could be certain of victory. Now that patience would be tested, the battle to come would determine not just Earth's fate, but how humanity would finally reveal itself to the galaxy at large. Send word to all stations, Chen ordered. Operation Looking Glass is now active. Let's show our visitors what happens when they judge a book by its cover. As the alien fleet approached, humanity's greatest performance was about to begin. Soon, the Hexarchate would learn that appearances could be deceiving, and that sometimes the most dangerous predator was the one that looked like prey. High Admiral Kexnar of the Hexarchate fleet stood on his command deck, all four arms clasped behind his back, as he studied the holographic display of the primitive world before him. The planet's crude satellites were pathetically easy to detect, their radio transmissions spilling carelessly into space. My lord, his second-in-command, Sub-Commander Vex, approached with a data crystal. We've completed our preliminary scans of the target world. Report, Kexnar ordered, his primary eyes fixed on the blue planet, while his secondary set tracked the crystal's data stream. Their technological level is precisely as our advanced probes indicated. Chemical propulsion, basic digital computing, primitive nuclear fission. Their most advanced weapons appear to be kinetic projectiles and crude fusion devices. Vex's scales rippled with amusement. They still use silicon for their computer systems. Meanwhile, in the heart of Mount Cheyenne, Director Chen sat in the quantum-shielded war room with the Defense Council. The alien fleet's every transmission, every scan, every subtle movement was displayed in crystalline clarity through their quantum sensing network. They're proceeding exactly as predicted, General Santos remarked, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic displays. Their scans are detecting exactly what we want them to see. Dr. Evans, attending virtually through her quantum presence projection, nodded. The deception grid is performing perfectly. Every satellite we let them detect is transmitting carefully crafted data. Even their deep scans are only finding the technology we want them to find. Chen watched as another scan sweep passed harmlessly through Earth's true defenses. The quantum platforms, existing partially out of phase with normal spacetime, remained completely invisible. 20 years of perfecting their masquerade was paying off. What's the status of civilian preparations? Council Chairman Zhang asked. All quantum tech has been fully phased out of normal spacetime, Chen reported. Surface industries are maintaining their cover operations. As far as our visitors can tell, we're still struggling to reach Mars with chemical rockets. Back on the Hexarchate flagship, Kexnar reviewed the humans' response to their ultimatum. The transmission was appropriately crude, sent via radio waves, and basic encryption that his systems had cracked instantly. Please, the human representative pleaded, his fear evident even through the primitive video feed. We need more time to consult with all Earth's nations. We've never encountered advanced life before. This is all very overwhelming. Kexnar's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. Such delicious fear, he purred. Send the response. You have 12 standard hours. After that, we begin our demonstration of power. In the war room, Chen watched the alien commander's response with carefully hidden satisfaction. They're completely convinced, she said. Time to proceed with Phase 2. Across Earth's solar system, quantum platforms began shifting their phase states by microscopic degrees, preparing for the moment they would reveal themselves. Each platform contained more computing power than the entire visible infrastructure of Earth, all hidden behind a quantum veil. Begin evacuating all non-essential personnel from our orbital facilities, Chen ordered. Maintain only the skeleton crews necessary to keep up appearances. Everyone else goes to the quantum bunkers. Dr. Evans' projection smiled. The aliens are launching probe drones, standard pattern for their civilization type. They'll try to map our defensive capabilities in detail. Let them, General Santos growled. Every bit of data they gather just reinforces their assumptions. Their arrogance will be their undoing. High above, the probe drones spread out across Earth's orbit, their sensors probing for any sign of serious resistance. They found exactly what they were meant to find: outdated satellites, primitive weapon systems, and a frightened civilization barely able to defend its own atmosphere. Final attack planning is complete, my lord, Vex reported to Kexnar. Their primitive defenses will fall in seconds. Their major population centers will be at our mercy. Excellent. Kexnar's primary eyes narrowed in pleasure. Begin moving the fleet into final attack position. Let's show these primitives the price of defiance. In Mount Cheyenne, Chen received word that all civilian quantum technology had been successfully phased out of normal spacetime. Earth appeared, to all scans and sensors, exactly as primitive as the Hexarchate believed. All defensive platforms report ready. Lieutenant Rivera's quantum projection appeared in the war room. Phase shift is holding steady at optimal deception levels. We can transition to combat configuration in under 1 picosecond. Chen nodded, studying the fleet's formation. The aliens were arranging themselves in a standard sphere of battle, their ships positioned to rain destruction on Earth's major cities. They expected to face missiles, perhaps some primitive energy weapons. Their overconfidence was palpable. Attention all commands. Chen broadcast through the quantum network. The enemy has committed to their attack pattern. Prepare for Phase 3 initialization. Remember, we only get one chance to show the galaxy why humanity chose to hide its true capabilities. As the alien fleet moved into their final attack positions, humanity's greatest deception was about to become humanity's greatest revelation. The predator had finished playing prey. Now it was time to bare their teeth. The final hour before the Hexarchate's deadline ticked away in calculated silence. On the flagship's command deck, High Admiral Kexnar watched with growing anticipation as his fleet finalized their attack positions. The primitive world below continued its pointless radio broadcasts, begging for more time, pleading for mercy. My lord, Vex announced, the humans' final response is coming through. The transmission flickered to life on the main display. A single human stood before what appeared to be a primitive governmental chamber. His voice was steady, despite the fear Kexnar could smell even through the digital feed. To the Hexarchate fleet, the human began, "We have considered your demands. Earth's response is this. Leave now. What follows is on your head." Kexnar's 4 eyes blinked in succession. They dare to threaten us. His laughter echoed across the command deck. Begin the attack sequence. Show these primitives the price of such arrogance. Deep within Mount Cheyenne, Director Chen watched the alien fleet's power signatures spike. "They're charging weapons," she announced to the war room. "All defensive platforms, prepare for phase shift. Quantum grid, stand by for reality manipulation protocols." Dr. Evans' projection displayed real-time calculations of the alien fleet's capabilities. Their main weapons are based on plasma containment fields. Primitive, but effective against conventional defenses. Too bad for them, we don't use conventional anything. All civilian quantum systems are secured, General Santos reported. Surface infrastructure is maintaining deception protocols. We're ready. The alien fleet's first salvo launched, a devastating barrage of plasma torpedoes designed to overwhelm Earth's perceived missile defense systems. In normal space, the weapons would have been unstoppable. But this was no longer normal space. Phase shift in 3. Chen counted down. 2. 1. Execute. Across the solar system, hundreds of quantum platforms shifted fully into normal spacetime. To the alien sensors, it would have appeared as if reality itself was suddenly filled with impossible technology. Each platform, more advanced than anything the HFY had ever encountered, activated its reality manipulation fields. On the flagship's bridge, alarms screamed as sensors detected the impossible. My lord, Vex's scales had gone pale. New contacts. Thousands of them. They're everywhere. Kexnar stared in disbelief as his tactical display transformed. Where there had been empty space moments before, now there was a grid of devices unlike anything he'd ever seen. Impossible. Where did they come from? Why didn't we detect them? The plasma torpedoes streaked toward Earth, but they never reached their targets. The quantum grid activated, and the laws of physics themselves seemed to hiccup. The carefully contained plasma simply ceased to exist, the energy dispersing harmlessly into subspace. By the first egg, Vex whispered. They changed the fundamental constants. Plasma containment is impossible within their field effect. Chen's voice broadcast across all frequencies, her tone carrying none of the fear the aliens had expected. This is Director Chen of Earth's Defense Force. Your weapons have been neutralized. Your shields are next. You chose to threaten a world you didn't understand. That mistake ends now. The quantum grid pulsed. Waves of altered spacetime swept through the alien fleet. Ships that had seemed invincible moments before suddenly found their plasma-based shields simply unable to exist. Engineering crews scrambled to reroute power, to find some way to defend against an attack that rewrote physics itself. Get us out of here, Kexnar roared. Emergency temporal drives. Full retreat. The temporal drives aren't responding. Vex's hands flew across his controls. They're operating in a space where our understanding of time itself is wrong. In the war room, Dr. Evans monitored the quantum grid's effects. Their technology is completely dependent on constants we can locally alter. They never imagined someone could change the basic rules of reality. All platforms reporting optimal performance, Lieutenant Rivera added. The enemy fleet is completely exposed. Their weapons are useless, their shields non-functional, and their drives are fighting against local spacetime distortions. Chen nodded, allowing herself a small smile. Send the second warning. Let's see if they're wise enough to take it. Across every channel, in perfect HFY language, Earth's message played. Your weapons cannot function here. Your shields cannot exist here. Your drives cannot operate here. You are in a space where we control the fundamental laws of physics themselves. This is your final chance to surrender. On the flagship's bridge, Kexnar watched his mighty fleet drift helpless in space. Ships that had conquered 100 worlds now floated powerless, their most basic systems fighting against laws of physics that no longer work the way they should. How? He whispered. How did we not see this? My lord, Vex's voice shook. I'm detecting energy builds in the human platforms. If they can already change fundamental constants. He trailed off, unable to finish the thought. In Mount Cheyenne, Chen waited exactly 1 minute for a response. When none came, she gave the order that would change the galaxy's understanding of humanity forever. They made their choice, she said quietly. All platforms. Execute final protocol. Show them exactly what happens when you judge a civilization by its surface technology. The quantum grid hummed as reality itself prepared to be rewritten. Humanity's patience had run out, and the price of threatening Earth was about to become terrifyingly clear. High Admiral Kexnar watched in horror as his mighty fleet drifted powerless in space, surrounded by technology that shouldn't exist. The humans' quantum platforms pulsed with energies his sensors couldn't even classify, each one radiating power that made his flagship's engines look like children's toys. Final warning ignored. Director Chen's voice echoed through every ship in the Hexarchate fleet, initiating containment protocols. The quantum grid activated its primary weapons. There was no beam of light, no projectile, no explosion. Instead, small bubbles of altered spacetime began appearing around select Hexarchate ships. Within these bubbles, the basic laws of physics shifted ever so slightly. "What's happening to the righteous fury?" Vex called out, watching as one of their dreadnoughts began to change. The ship's hull, designed to withstand the forces of solar winds and meteor impacts, began to flow like water. "They're changing the strong nuclear force constant," one of the science officers whispered. "The atomic bonds in our hull material. They're being selectively weakened." Across the fleet, ships began to transform. Some found their hull material turning brittle as crystal, while others watched their mighty weapons dissolve into clouds of component atoms. Not a single shot had been fired, yet the Hexarchate fleet was being systematically dismantled by forces they couldn't even comprehend. In Mount Cheyen's war room, Dr. Evans monitored the quantum grid's effects. "Selective physics manipulation is working exactly as designed. We're not destroying their ships. We're simply making it impossible for them to maintain structural integrity." "Status of enemy crew?" Chen asked, watching the tactical display. "All alive," Lieutenant Rivera reported. "The altered physics fields are precisely calibrated to affect only their technology. Organic matter remains unharmed." General Santos nodded approvingly. "Maintaining the moral high ground. Smart. The galaxy will notice that." On the flagship's bridge, Kexnar received desperate communications from his fleet. Ship after ship reported critical failures as reality itself seemed to turn against them. Weapons crumbled. Engines refused to fire. Computer systems found their quantum states randomly shifting. "My lord," Vex's voice cracked, "we're detecting new energy signatures from the platforms. They're creating some kind of containment field around the entire fleet." The quantum grid's platforms synchronized their reality manipulation fields, creating a massive bubble of altered spacetime that encompassed the entire Hexarchate force. Inside this bubble, the laws of physics became even more hostile to their technology. "Attention Hexarchate forces." Chen's voice came again, calm and measured. "Your fleet is now contained within a controlled spacetime domain. We will begin systematic neutralization of all military technology. Resist, and we will expand the field effects. Cooperate, and your crews will survive unharmed." Kexnar stared at his tactical display, watching as ship after ship went dark. Not destroyed. Something far worse. They were being reduced to their component atoms, their mighty technology rendered impossible by subtle changes to reality itself. "How?" he whispered. "How did we not see this coming?" Dr. Evans' voice answered, transmitted clearly to every ship. "You saw exactly what we wanted you to see. Humanity learned long ago that the best defense isn't mighty weapons or impenetrable shields. It's making your enemies underestimate you until it's too late." In the war room, Chen watched as the quantum grid completed its work. Where once had floated a mighty invasion fleet, now drifted clouds of refined metals and carefully preserved crew pods. Their technology hadn't been destroyed. It had been rendered fundamentally impossible within the laws of physics humanity now controlled. "All enemy ships neutralized," Rivera reported. "Crew survival pods are stable. No casualties." "Begin recovery operations," Chen ordered. "Let's show them humanity's other great technology, mercy." Quantum platforms shifted, creating corridors of normal spacetime through which Earth's primitive ships could approach the stranded alien crews. Each escape pod was carefully tractored aboard, their occupants about to learn just how deeply humanity's deception had run. "Attention Hexarchate survivors," Chen broadcast. You will be treated according to all international laws regarding prisoners of war. However, you're about to see something few outside Earth have ever witnessed. Our true level of technological development. As the rescue ships approached the flagship's remains, Kexnar finally understood. The primitive satellites, the radio signals, the pleading transmissions, it had all been theater. His mighty fleet hadn't been defeated by superior weapons or stronger shields. They had been defeated by their own arrogance, their absolute certainty that they understood humanity's capabilities. Send word to the Hexarchate, he commanded quietly. Tell them we didn't find a primitive civilization today. We found something far more dangerous, a technologically superior species that was wise enough to hide that fact until they had to use it. As Earth's ships began their recovery operation, the quantum grid remained vigilant, its platforms ready to rewrite reality itself should any more threats appear. Humanity's greatest deception had been revealed, but its greatest secret remained. There were even more advanced technologies still hidden, waiting for the day they might be needed. The galaxy was about to learn a vital lesson. Judge not by appearances, for the deadliest predator is often the one wise enough to play prey. 3 days after the battle, Director Chen stood in the newly unveiled quantum reception chamber, watching as diplomats from 30 different alien civilizations arrived through carefully controlled space-time apertures. The chamber, like much of Earth's true infrastructure, had existed for decades, hidden behind layers of quantum deception. High Admiral Kexnar, now a prisoner but treated with diplomatic courtesy, stood beside her, his 4 eyes wide as he watched representatives from civilizations he'd never even heard of appear. "You've been in contact with them all along," he said quietly. "All these years, we've known about galactic civilization since we achieved quantum consciousness technology a century ago," Chen confirmed. "We watched, we learned, and we prepared." The chamber filled with beings of all forms, crystalline entities from the Crab Nebula, energy constructs from the galactic core, even the mysterious cloud mines of the Perseus Arm. All had come to witness humanity's formal introduction to galactic society. Dr. Evans, appearing in person for the first time, rather than as a projection, approached with a data crystal. The Hexarchate High Council's response has arrived. They're rather apologetic. "They should be," General Santos growled, but there was no real anger in his voice. Their fleet's aggressive expansion finally ran into a wall they couldn't breach, reality itself. In the days since the battle, Earth had begun selectively revealing its true technological level. Quantum cities phased into normal spacetime. Massive orbital habitats appeared as if by magic, and ships that could rewrite the laws of physics emerged from their dimensional hiding places. "The galaxy is in shock," Ambassador Lin reported, her quantum augments glowing softly as she processed real-time diplomatic feeds. "Some civilizations are afraid, others are fascinated, but all of them want to know the same thing. How did we hide it all?" Chen smiled, remembering the day, decades ago, when humanity made its choice. They had detected the first alien probes entering the solar system and realized they had 3 options: reveal themselves, destroy the probes, or hide. They chose a 4th option: to create the most elaborate deception in human history. "The quantum grid is being repurposed," she told Kexnar. "From a weapon of last resort to a tool for peaceful exploration. Your people are welcome to join the research initiative, under proper supervision." The former admiral nodded slowly. "You could have destroyed us completely, changed the physics in our ships until organic matter couldn't exist. Why didn't you?" "Because that's not who we are," Chen replied. "We hid our technology not out of fear, but out of wisdom. We watched how advanced civilizations treated developing ones. We saw the exploitation, the forced integrations, the cultural destruction. We decided to wait until we could be certain of protecting ourselves." In orbit, the quantum platforms were already being transformed. Where once they had projected fields of altered reality as weapons, now they created stable wormholes, allowing controlled travel across vast distances. Earth's isolation was ending, but on humanity's terms. The Galactic Council is convening an emergency session, Ambassador Lin announced. They're voting to grant humanity immediate full membership, with special provisions for our unique technological base. Accept it, Chen ordered. But make our position clear. Earth's space remains under quantum protection. We will trade, we will share knowledge, we will participate in galactic culture, but we will never again be vulnerable. Kexnar watched as more diplomatic ships arrived, each one passing through security fields that could, if necessary, rewrite the laws of physics within their hulls. You know, he said thoughtfully, in all the Hexarchid's history, we never encountered a species that chose to appear weaker than they were. It's humbling. That's why we did it, Dr. Evans explained. True strength isn't about showing your power. It's about knowing when not to show it. As the diplomatic reception continued, quantum sensors detected 3 more fleets approaching the solar system. Unlike the Hexarchid ships, these came openly, broadcasting peace signals. The galaxy was rushing to establish relations with the civilization that had hidden its true nature for so long. Begin phasing in the outer colonies, Chen ordered. It's time to show them everything. The Mars quantum habitats, the Jupiter energy farms, the Fold space shipyards at Saturn. Humanity's greatest performance was ending, but its greatest adventure was just beginning. They had protected themselves not through force of arms, but through patience, wisdom, and the understanding that sometimes the best way to win a fight is to make sure it never happens. As Earth revealed its true face to the galaxy, one thing became clear. Humanity had not just preserved its independence, it had changed the very nature of galactic politics. In demonstrating that appearances could be deceiving, they had forced every civilization to question its assumptions about developing worlds. The age of deception was over. The age of quantum diplomacy had begun.